Wasn't this update meant to be about tinkering too, or am I missing something? Because all I see is a whole lot of adventure, exploration, and combat, but nothing to do with tinkering, says Sparks5884. This concern was partially addressed this week because the newest 1.21 update for Bedrock added 5 brand new paintings to the game, which KidStan77 says is an extremely rare Bedrock W, but did you know it's not the first time there have been paintings exclusive to Bedrock? Because to answer Wilsky1's question right here, the Earth, Fire, Wind, and Water paintings do still exist in the Bedrock version of the game, and although officially they were only there to promote one of the Minecons years ago, they were actually added to the Java edition in 2022, and although they're only accessible via commands, I'm just saying, you look at the fact that we have a breeze and a blaze now, you look at the wind charge and you look at the fire charge, you start to see that maybe Minecraft has some longer term plans to do with the elementals, and this might be a part of a eventual tinkering update. However, if you want it to be part of 1.21, then it's not very good news, just like how Not Zach Powers asks, I want my theory to be they're releasing 1.20.5, then delaying 1.21 until like late July so they can add more combat features, because honestly, although this is a combat adventures update, it very much has been all about experiences you can use the new combat for, outside of the MACE, which I think is absolutely killing it, and there hasn't been a major rework of combat systems, but this seems to be the course that Mojang is trying to go on. If you look at the number of features which they add to experimental, then later decide aren't worth doing, I think combat is a great example, but same too for the villager trading. If there is too much outrage about a feature, they just don't seem to think it's worthwhile putting in the game, which I think is actually a shame when they keep things almost exactly the same, despite the fact that they have experimental in the name. I think these things are worth playing around with, and they should do more of these. Honestly, they need to have some criteria for success and be honest about what that is so that we can know that we are affecting this in some way, or if they're just going to try a bunch of things and waste a lot of development resources on things that don't go anywhere, because Mojang is very clear that they are kind of playing things a little bit safe. They're being conservative with Minecraft development because there are so many people who don't want the game to change. There is a beautiful core and they don't want to mess with that too quickly. But if there's anything I've learned from my own life, it's that at some point being too risk averse is eventually the risk in itself. You need to know the right level of risk, and that is not 100%, but it's also not anywhere close to 0%. At least that's my humble opinion, and I think honestly this is something Minecraft itself learns pretty well from, because the answer to Bolak3195's question of how often does the marketplace get updated is every single Tuesday. Without fail, every Tuesday there are dozens of new pieces of content released, and a lot of these pieces of content are bad. This is why I started the idea of Store Saturday and Store Sunday, and indeed, a lot of people do criticize when I go through a bad map, like why are you using your money on other add-ons? The content just isn't worth it. But the reason I do precisely this is because there are some really good things in there, some really great ideas that are worth diving into, and although people didn't necessarily like the farming add-on, I've had some people say specifically, I'll stick to Farmer's Delight on Java because it's free. There are also some comments from people like, oh yeah, I have a world with family and friends that we play and we've had for 5 years. We have towns, cities, roads, taverns, and everything. So yes, more food, 10 out of 10, I'm a get it. Being able to introduce the map to people who don't like it is worth it's a risk worth taking. Looking like a Microsoft shill, which some people seem to think I am, is a risk worth taking if it means that I can introduce people like Fibs, VP6GM, why is that your username, who says, I brought the mod on release because I play with my girlfriend who is a huge Stardew Valley fan and loves farming in Minecraft, and I can say we've loved the mod so far. Only problem is that lots of these crops in one area get very laggy, and also the crops aren't made as well as the ones in the Magical Crops mod, which by the way, I have an update to. So interestingly, in that video, I referenced this exact comment, which came from the people who made the add-on. It was from Podcrash, where they said that they could not add the trees as actual blocks because they did not have custom block support, and I have an update on this from one of the executive producers of Minecraft who works on the marketplace. I believe from past experience they don't want to be mobbed by strangers on Twitter, so I won't be sharing their name in this, but you can look this up yourself if you want to see that it's real. But they said, while it's true that we have stricter rules for add-ons, there are no additional restrictions that would limit custom blocks usage. Custom blocks are absolutely usable by creators in add-ons, although we are always looking at ways to extend capability here, like via custom components. And this was really weird to me. I thought but that was specifically what this was me being told two exact opposite things, one from the marketplace and one from a marketplace developer, and honestly, I was very aware that I could dive into my marketplace team and work it out, but that information wouldn't be public, and so I figured instead I would just go straight to the source and say, oh, I would love to know if I misunderstood. I took this quote directly from the creators of the add-on, and they said that the creator here is saying specific things needed to deliver these features as custom blocks isn't here, which is true, but that doesn't mean mean custom blocks aren't supported in add-ons, which is to say you can do full custom block things in Minecraft using add-ons. But if you want to have it be on the marketplace, there are certain features you can't have access to, but you still can have custom blocks like they did in the Portals map. This is a very confusing space because in the same way you can play with 1.21 features, but you need to have that toggle enabled, and so no marketplace content can, there are lots of experimental things which are available for the marketplace, which make it so much better, but only content outside the marketplace can use those toggles. And so, interestingly, for people who think that this is an entirely money-motivated system, at the very least you could argue that the paid add-ons are always going to be worse than the free ones from outside the marketplace because they have so much less content available. I've been working with add-on teams. I'm currently working on some very interesting stuff for the marketplace, and a number of limitations you have to work with makes you really question why it's even happening that way right now. But that's a whole different point for a whole different time, especially because I feel like I have lots of Java subscribers who, whenever we talk about the marketplace, are like, seriously, there's that much going on with it? And it is honestly a whole source of space where Minecraft Bedrock gets a lot of development, which they just don't put into Java. Modding on Java is entirely left to the community, whereas basically they're entirely slowly breaking apart the game for Bedrock so that people can make add-ons with specific hooks in the game, and so you never need to download any actual mod. It just kind of plugs into Minecraft. It's a very interesting system we've got, but it is something I think a lot of people aren't familiar with because there are lots of people who watch my videos, and it seems as though it's the first time they're hearing about Bedrock or seriously realizing that lots of people do play Bedrock. And some of those comments are people saying like, well, you're telling me hardcore is better on Bedrock because you have less freedom to play the game the way you want? Because again, if you're on Java and you love customization, why would you want to remove that customization? Except wait, that's what hardcore mode is. Hardcore mode is just hard difficulty, but without the without the choice of what happens after you die. You want to remove your ability to play the game well. That's why you're playing hardcore, in my opinion. I think that having restrictive game modes isn't necessarily a fun idea for everyone, but those people wouldn't want to play hardcore, right? That's the in my opinion, that seems silly. But also, I get some Java viewers which have some comments like this one. I just tested this seed. It was my speedrun dev seed, if you're curious, and it works on Java. This time it's closer to the chasm. Fun fact, every single Java and Bedrock seed is exactly the same between two versions. This is one of those features which took so much work and so much time was put into it, but honestly, I feel like most people don't even know about, and most people don't know how much time it took. This is one of the downsides of modern Minecraft development. A lot of the stuff they work on, a lot of the things which take all of these increased man hours of the game now versus the game then, take huge amounts of it, but people don't even realize because of the fact that it's somewhere behind the scenes, or it's just for parity reasons, or it's just for some weird business thing that you might not have seen. But honestly, Minecraft is building a much better base, and I keep thinking, wow, now they built this much better base, they can make much bigger updates. And it's weird because if you'll allow me a second to rant, if you won't, then goodbye. I've been IBX Toycat, and this is Q&A Saturday. But if you give me just a second for a rant here, I think Minecraft has spent all this time building a much better architecture for the game, undoing mistakes from years ago, and then have finally gone to the stage where if they wanted to, they could make these much bigger updates. And then at this point, they've said, actually, you know what, we'll leave this to the community. We'll let them do the add-ons. The whole idea is that Mojang are, the reason the updates are better than add-ons and mods is because of the fact that Mojang are very good at balancing. They're good at all the things behind the feature, but if we get to the stage where they're like, yeah, but we'll just kind of focus on smaller updates, it feels very weird to me. I have to imagine that their goals for the rest of 1.21 and hopefully for 1.22 going onwards are to work on entirely expansive new content, even if it's just for the sake of, if you added a new dimension or made the end dimension better, it would give add-on or mod makers more things to play around with. I think that would be great. Something that really radicalized me recently, just, I feel like that's a bad start to a sentence, but hear me out here, is the tough stairs and the tough bricks coming to Minecraft, because, especially the same with the copper, because when copper came to Minecraft, people said, yeah, it needs to do more visually, and the same is true for tuff. Tuff had zero use for years, and people were saying it should be made into a block, and my thinking at the time was, the reason they didn't make it into stairs is because they think tuff should be a semi-useless block, because that is where the plan is going to tie into the rest of some future plan, Mojang's famous 4-year plans, and so obviously they're not just going to make it purely aesthetic, because if it was aesthetic, if it was just going to be stairs, stairs and slabs, they could add those right now, except no, we waited years and then they just added tough stairs, tough slabs, and tough bricks. And the same is true for copper. We asked for variations for so long, and then they only added them when they fit into a structure for them. I do think this is an example where I say, yeah, there is clearly a lack of ambition if an idea like this takes years to come to fruition, even though it was obvious to everyone from the get-go. When Mojang comes up with something brand new like the MACE, nobody was suggesting the MACE and everyone is impressed by it. People go, wow, that's really, really good. But when there's something which was obvious since a feature was added, I think it's a bit harder to add. And so that is where this video has one last pivot that I'd like to make. Let's talk about the fletching table. I have been a long-time cheerleader and believer in the fletching table, although the exact opposite is true for my relationship with running. I haven't run in any serious capacity for years, but I agreed to, on the insistence of some people I met recently, go for a 5-kilometer run around a park, so be right back.
Too many. Okay, I sweat so much from doing that. I don't ever want to run again. But
Okay, I'm back very shortly, so now is the time to mention that the fletching table has been without a use for many years, and it would be perfect for them to update it in 1.21 because combat and tinkering both fall under adding a whole update to give the fletching table a function. However, given that they have said the last major feature has been added to 1.21, I don't imagine we'll be seeing a new fletching table use, although, you know, you could argue maybe not a major feature, and so I wanted to spend a little bit theorizing about why it is that Mojang said that they had a use plan for the fletching table all the way back in 1.14, and now 7 updates later we still don't have one. Because I try to see the other side of basically any situation that I'm in. I got a lot of comments on the Notch video saying, oh, how dare you not criticize the man just for existing, but also some people who said, actually, I appreciate your impartiality, that you can actually try and understand things first and then work out what your opinion is second. It's something I try really hard to do across all of the channels and all of the things that I do. It is an important part of actually growing as a human being, but that's a point for another time. And so I tried to work out why could it possibly be that Mojang had a use plan for the fletching table they didn't then add to the game. And I tried to work into all of the different times that we've seen Mojang pivot their development strategy. Over the last couple of years, we've seen this a lot. They've stopped showing concept art for things they don't believe are going to come into the game because of the backlash over the concept art is not a commitment phrase which came out, which is a very reasonable thing to say, but also was a poorly timed comment because of the fact that 1.19 was a smaller than expected update, and so some of the features we expected to be the bare minimum weren't in there. And so, you know, you can see, like, looking at Mojang's development path, they also have realized that showing off features all at once at Minecraft Live leaves no excitement for the rest of the year. And so what I'm saying is they learn from the mistakes of previous years, and they try to make sure that they have a better, not only update, but also update development cycle. And so what could they have learned that makes them go, let's not update the fletching table? One, it could be a gameplay thing. They could just say, yeah, our idea wasn't very fun, and we could have worked out an alternate one, but there's no point just adding something for the sake of it. But the other thing that I would say is at a certain point, the expectation of something becomes so high that the amount of actual effort and quality you need to fill that goes up and up and up until it becomes near impossible to fill. I have felt this myself on some small scale versions of that on this channel. There are some series that people love so much and really would love to see, but also at the same time, viewing habits evolve and the expectations of YouTube generally evolve. So to be able to deliver on those, you need to not only create something that is better every single time, that's a key part of YouTube, but also understand how that fits into new viewing habits. And it can become very, very hard to actually deliver something which was expected a long time ago, but where the community that now expects it have evolved. And if you think about it, if we are all 6 years older than when we first expected the fletching table, that means that there is a significant change in the community they would have released that feature for versus how how it would come out now. This is why I think it's really weird not to release calcite, stairs, slabs, and other fun versions of that block right now, but in reality, if they let a few years pass, enough people will start playing Minecraft and just accept that calcite is a block that is a block, that those people will be really excited by it. With the tough brick example, maybe it just is that I'm a Minecraft boomer and I've been playing since they added tough, and so I feel like there's a missing feature from a previous update, whereas a lot of people say, oh, thank God I have so much tough and I can't wait to use it. I'm not really that sure, but I do know that one of the important things to know is that the whole world is aging at the exact same rate that you are, and that not only does that mean that everything else is slowly having to change, but also you are changing without realizing it. As you are getting older, your preferences are shifting, and so if you think something has gotten worse, there is a chance that it's actually you. I mean, you that's changed, not gotten worse, but maybe you've gotten worse too, who knows? One of my big beliefs in the world is that the natural state of things is decay, and that keeping things going flat is actually quite hard. Getting things better is even harder than that, but that is why I do think it's a good thing that after, like a couple of slump updates, I think we could argue, there is a real improvement in every Minecraft update from the last. I think 1.20 was better than 1.19, and I think 1.21 is better than 1.20, and that is with a couple of features left to come. I'm excited for the Combat Adventures and Tinkering Update, even though it could have been better. And that is a hard thing to say, but that is where my genuine beliefs are, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Subscribe if you did, and otherwise, thank you for watching. I'm going to be taking a small break from live streaming over the next week as I go to the Middle East, but we have some fun videos prepared, especially tomorrow's. It's the long-awaited When is 1.21 coming out video, so looking forward to seeing you there. Goodbye.